Welcome to explorepotential.com with Ken Kimball. In this video, I'd like to introduce myself and explain my story. Some might think the story is a little tragic, others inspirational. Either way, I'm just going to start at the beginning. Basically, I was one of those kids that once I learned how to scribble with a crayon, I never really stopped. I'm 40 years old right now, and I am still drawing. Now, when I was a kid, a lot of my friends could draw a lot better than I could. I had to work hard at it. I would practice at home after school and on the weekends, and I remember going to school to show my friends my drawings, and they sucked compared to what my friends were doing. So I practiced real hard. And by the time I get to high school, a lot of my friends that could paint or draw real easily, they stopped doing it. But because I had invested so much time, I was still doing it. And when it came time to think about college, my grades sucked, so I guess becoming an artist was my best choice. So I got into school, I got into college, crappy grades and all, but my portfolio was rejected. I signed up for an art class anyways. The teacher immediately signed me into the art program. And I worked real hard, just as hard as I did when I was in grade school, obviously harder than that. You know, if I took a drawing class with one professor, I would stop and ask every single professor I saw what they thought of my drawings, and I would actually make the revisions. All the hard work paid off because my junior year, I think it was my junior year in college, I got a job as a caricature artist in Faneuil Hall in Boston. And that was awesome. I just really loved drawing caricatures, and I was working with some really, really talented and brave people. I mean, it took a lot of guts to draw with marker on paper with a crowd of people watching. And I realized that if I was going to make my livelihood as an artist, it was going to be very competitive. So I figured I need to come up with some way that would give me the edge over my competition. And I had remembered that meditation, one of the benefits of meditation is heightened creativity. And I had learned how to meditate when I was 12, when I was taking karate classes. They had taught us how to meditate, and I fell in love with it. It was just blew my mind. It felt like my body was glued to the floor. It was awesome. In fact, I saved up all my allowance money and went and bought the exact same statue of Buddha that the dojo had, and I'd sit in front of that thing for hours. But when I got to college, I stopped meditating. I really hadn't done it much at all, so I thought that I would get back into it, and it was your basic Zazen meditation, you know, being mindful of your breaths and all. And then I started reading books on Buddhism, Taoism, Native American philosophies, and any other culture, Hawaiian, you know, any other culture that had some kind of spiritual practice. I wanted to know about it and see how it could make me a better artist. I got a part-time job selling art supplies, and that was really cool because I met a lot of artists, professional artists, students, professors, and I was able to network and learn a lot. I learned a lot about art mediums, and it was just really interesting to come in contact with people that were really doing this, doing art for a living. And that's where I met artist Bill Lambert. Bill has mastered all painting mediums, and even though he's not American Indian, he spent a lot of time living on a reservation, so he had a lot of insight into the Native American culture and personal experience of infusing that insight in his art. So it started off as painting lessons, which later morphed into philosophy lessons. We would guzzle pots of coffee, and he would talk about the various things he learned on the reservation and the things that he's learned as an artist. And it was really inspirational to me and very helpful for me, especially when he told me about this author, Tom Brown Jr. Tom teaches Native American survival skills, philosophy skills in New Jersey. So I started reading all of Tom's books, and then I even took a handful of his classes, mostly the philosophy classes, and learned a lot of cool things. All the time, I was really interested in learning about wilderness survival and about shamans and such, but I really wanted to know how it could make me a better artist. That's what I was always asking, that question: how can this make me a better artist? And after taking a lot of Tom's classes, I realized that meditation doesn't have to be sedentary. That meditation can be in movement. Like, you can do your chores while you meditate. You certainly can paint while you meditate. The creative process is a dynamic meditation. And another skill that I learned from Tom that really made a difference was remote viewing. In quantum physics, they say that our minds are non-local, which means they don't reside within your body. The mind can be placed at any place, past, present, or future, and you can actually perceive those events. And to me, there was something that just really resonated as helpful with the creative process. You have to access very specific states of consciousness with a particular purpose, and I'm thinking that's what I need to know more about. And fortunately for me, around 95, a lot of information that the government had on remote viewing became declassified. The U.S. government had spent millions of dollars training psychic spies. A lot of other countries were doing it, so the U.S. had to jump into it as well, reluctantly, but they did. And they had lots of research on the benefits of accessing altered states of consciousness and the information that you could gather when you do. And I'm like, this is perfect. So I found a teacher online, and for 10 years I studied remote viewing. I even became a forum administrator to his website, helping people from around the world access altered states of consciousness, like alpha, theta, delta brainwave patterns, that kind of thing. And that was awesome. And I became less interested in, actually remote viewing a particular location, and more interested in mastering the ability to enter alpha, theta, and delta brainwave patterns to retrieve information that was useful for my professional life. At the time, I was working as an illustrator at a t-shirt shop. So sometimes you had to come up with 12 designs for hiking or skiing or whitewater rafting. And what I had learned to do was take a deep breath, exhale, drop into a theta state, and just record all of the amount of information that was bombarded. It just got thrown at me like dozens of design ideas. I would just take notes of them all, and then I would just start to create them and make them happen. And that was my process. I was actually able to take, waking up at 4 in the morning and meditating for a couple hours every day. Yeah, I did all that, but I was actually able to be at work and access really deep states of consciousness and put them to use in a very practical way.